I'm filling in for Srini today because he forgot some equipment at home. In this video, you'll learn how you can use SmartWrite and Edit to make your notes more useful. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to check out our free ultimate guide to building a second brain. Just click on the link in the description below. Now let's get to the tutorial.
What I want to go over in this video is how you can use SmartWrite and Edit to make your notes much more useful. Because one of the things that really matters, and I think that a lot of people overlook, is the content of their notes. They tend to capture a lot, but then they don't really set up those notes in a way that something can be done with them. So I want to go over 3 different ways that you can use SmartWrite and Edit to make your notes much more valuable. So the first way that we can actually make our notes valuable is by automating the concept of progressive summarization. So if you haven't seen it yet, I did a video on progressive summarization, but the concept behind progressive summarization is basically to add different layers to your notes, which is to bold certain sections so that way you can get the gist of a note when you look at it, to potentially write an executive summary, or to basically create a list of bullet points. And one of the things that's nice with SmartWrite and Edit is that we can automate that process. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to show you a couple of different examples first. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have SmartWrite and Edit create a 1-paragraph summary of this set of notes from a book called Magic Words by Jonah Berger. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in the command 1-paragraph summary. And what you'll see here is that SmartWrite and Edit will generate a 1-paragraph summary for us. So you'll see here that now we have a 1-paragraph summary. Now, depending on how long your set of book notes is or how much text there is in here, this can take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. So now we've got a basic summary. So we could actually just go take a look at this book note. And we know what this book is about just by looking at this book note. But let's say that we wanted to have this summary be a bit more extensive, or we wanted to in a different format. So another thing we can do is we can actually have SmartWrite and Edit do a summary in bullet points. So we're going to go ahead and create a bullet list summary. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing I did now with the paragraph, but instead of typing in 1 paragraph, I'm going to say 10 bullets summary. And what we'll get now is a bulleted list of the key points and takeaways inside of this set of book notes. So in this case, we can see that this list is not great, but what we could do, for example, we could modify it and say, hey, give me this list as a list of quotes from the book or 10 key takeaways, or whatever we wanted to do. But we have the sort of simplest version. And so one thing that you'll have to do sometimes is a couple of iterations on whatever command that you type to get the output that you want. So let's do one last thing. Another thing that Tiago Forte talks about in building a second brain is to bold all the sort of key phrases or things we want to bold or things that are important, so that way we can get the gist of a note just by looking at it. And this is something that I discovered by accident, but I went ahead and just typed the command bold key phrases. And one of the nice things about this is that SmartWrite and Edit can actually bold the key phrases inside a block of text for you. What you'll see here is that it actually gave us all the key phrases inside of bold, and we can replace the text, and you'll notice here that it actually bolded the key phrases inside of this text for us. So that's how we can automate progressive summarization with SmartWrite and Edit. Now let's look at expanding and revising Smart Notes. So I've talked a lot about taking smart notes before, which is basically the process of taking an insight from a book you're reading and rewriting it in your own words. So let's look at an example here. So this is an example from Todd Henry's book, The Accidental Creative, and a couple of things that we can do here. So this is the first version that I wrote, and obviously when you're writing your literature notes, they're not always going to be completely coherent. So one thing I could do is I could use the built-in commands inside of SmartWrite and Edit, and I could just say simplify the language and make it more accessible. And we can revise the note based on that. We can expand this note if we wanted to. And the other thing we can do in addition to this is we can use the ideas in this note to come up with new ideas. So let's look here for a second and see what SmartWrite gives us as a new output. So we're going to go ahead and replace this, but let's say I wanted to just say, have this be 1 paragraph. I can just say condense this into 1 paragraph. And basically we can modify these notes however we see fit, so that way they end up becoming more useful, because we don't always write clearly when we first start writing ideas down. Ideas seem kind of vague, but that's one nice thing about SmartWrite and Edit, is that we can actually condense these notes, make them more useful, make them clearer. And so you can see here that we've basically taken this note and turned it into something else. So the last way that we can actually use SmartWrite and Edit to make our notes more useful is to actually use our notes to generate ideas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to highlight the title of this note, and I'm going to say 5 ideas for a blog post based on content of this note. And you can see here, it gives us a couple of different ideas for a blog post, and we can basically take this and copy it or set up separate mems for each of these individual blog posts. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this right here as something that I might refer back to in the future. But as you can see here, the use cases for SmartWrite and Edit are pretty extensive. And this is one that I think is really valuable because of the fact that you can actually make your notes much more useful so that you can use those notes for your projects, for your content, and whatever it is that you might be working on. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below.